Alright, welcome back to me whinging about stuff that doesn't actually matter at all. Today I'm gonna be talking about why the Harry Potter magic system sucks. Because it's something I've been thinking about for a while and I wanted to talk about it. First off, we have potions, which don't make any sense at all. Like, let's compare to cooking, right? You have cooking, where you have different ingredients that taste differently and you can mix and match and make sure that it goes well together, right? That it synergizes or whatever. And can't really do that in potions, right? Because the instructions, as I recall, are very, very specific. Like, you have to prepare the ingredients in a very specific manner, right? And that begs the question, how did anyone ever come up with that particular recipe for any of the potions? Because you have to, like, you can't dice, you have to slice, and you have to, the stirring is what gets me the most, right? Because you have to, like, stir 2 1/4 clockwise, and then 3 15 quarters counterclockwise, and then you might have to switch back and forth several times, right? How did the person who came up with the recipe know when they had stirred enough, right? Like, when did they do they just do everything the exact same way but just stir a quarter way each time? Or how does that work? Because if that's the case, then how did they ever figure out a recipe where you have to stir different amounts counterclockwise and clockwise and do that like 5 times? How do you know how many times you need to do the first time around, right? If you need to stir once clockwise the first time, how do you know that's enough? How do you know you need to switch to counterclockwise after one attempt? You'll have to do, I mean, also some of the times it's just quarters, right? Not whole fucking circles, just quarter circles that you have to stir. And that means that you have to make all of the combinations, but preparing the ingredients the exact same way the rest of the time, right? So you have all of the different ingredients. How do you know which ingredients are correct? You just have to, because there are so many different ingredients that you can pick. And I mean, not only do they have access to regular ingredients like we would use in real life, all of the spices and meats and whatever, right? But they also have a bunch of different herbs and spices and whatnot that are magic. How do you know what goes together? Because you can't taste test it, I don't think. And who tested all the potions to know if you made it right? Because you have to finish the potion, and maybe it's lethal if you don't prepare it the exact right way, but how would you know which way is correct? That just doesn't work. I mean, yeah, with cooking that was the case at some point, I suppose, because someone had to test every dish at some point, right? And like the pufferfish thing, that like super lethal. You can't inject any of it, and it has to be prepared precisely right. But even then, we know what part of that fish is dangerous, and someone has figured out how to remove the poison without rupturing it and ruining the whole fish. Can't do that with potions in Harry Potter, because you're just mixing and matching and stirring in different ways, and it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Not to me, at least. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I also remember something about Snape in his journal having like special ways to prepare. So maybe it isn't as rigorous as I'm thinking, but also when they learn potions in class, it has to be you have to exactly follow the instructions 100%, or you'll ruin it. I mean, I'm recalling Snape telling them to pour out stuff because they prepared it wrong and stuff like that, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then I guess we can move on to the magic, because that doesn't make any sense either. Because when they start school, right, you have it's very specific, right? Again, with famous Wingardium Leviosa scene, right? You have to swish and flick, and you have to say the precise right way, otherwise it won't work. But then, I think it's the Half-Blood Prince, where I'm pretty sure that's when Harry finds Snape's old notebook or journal, and that's where he got the potion stuff as well, different ways to prepare the ingredients, which is better, because Snape's a potion genius, I guess. But he also finds Septum Semper, I think it's called, the spell that he uses on Malfoy. And I think it's also in this book when we find out that you don't actually have to say the spells. You can just think it and do it. And that works. And that's the preferred method, actually, because the other person, if you're fighting someone, they won't know which spell you're using because you're not yelling it. Which, gets rid of the whole anime thing, really, because in anime, it's a trope that everyone yells their attacks because it's cool. Actually, I think it's just because it's for the audience benefit, so they know what attack is being used and can, recall, I used that attack and what that. It doesn't have any in-universe use, I don't think. But, so, Harry learned Snape's spell straight off, right? And Snape made up that spell and scribbled it down in his book. He named it. He named the spell that he invented. And when Harry used it, it did what it was supposed to do. I don't think he knew what the spell was going to do. I might remember this wrong, but I think the notebook or journal, whatever, only had the name of the spell, not what it did. And then Harry used it on Malfoy without knowing what it did. And that, I think, was the case. Which means Snape knew what he wanted a spell to do, right? So what does he do? He just puts a name to it, which means that's the case with every spell in Harry Potter. Someone thought, oh, hey, I want to conjure a glass of water. Name it something. But then you don't have to say it out loud, so does it actually need a name? Couldn't you just think what you want to happen and it should happen because magic? I mean, all of the spells that have been invented has had someone invent them and name them. Which means you shouldn't have to invent them. You shouldn't have to name them. You should be able to think what you want to happen, and it should just happen because it's magic, right? And also another thing that's been bothering me slightly, how does Hagrid get away with using magic when everyone else, the Ministry of Magic is on them straight away when underage wizard is using magic, because that's a big no-no. But Hagrid isn't allowed to use magic because he didn't graduate, I guess, or he's not an adult. I'm not sure exactly how the rules work, but something like that, right? At the very least, he's not allowed to use magic, so he hides his wand in an umbrella. But shouldn't it just get flagged anyways when he's using magic because he's not allowed to? Makes zero sense at all. I mean, slightly better, I suppose. Doesn't matter hugely. Yeah. Oh my. I'm not good at this. Either way. Hagrid should have been found out and fined or punished in some way, because he's not allowed to use magic. Then another thing I was thinking about, why don't they have like Wii remote wrist straps for their wands? Because if you get disarmed, right, the other person gets your wand. If you have a wrist strap and they Expelliarmus you to disarm you, they won't get the wand because you have a wrist strap. Seems like a fairly easy solution. Or could you put a wand into a glove? Because it's just wood and as something else, right? A phoenix feather, a unicorn hair, or what have you, right? Couldn't you put that in something else, like a glove, which can't be removed easily from your hand? I don't know. But a wrist strap should suffice. I mean, you have magic, make a magic wrist strap. I don't know. That shouldn't be that hard to make in that world. So I think that would be a good idea. Oh yeah, was there something else? Yes, time travel. They give a like 13-year-old the powers of time travel just so she can attend more classes. This is reckless in more ways than one. I mean, first of all, you have a teenager that can time travel. That's... Sure, Hermione is a very responsible teenager because she's Hermione. That's like her whole thing. She's smart and responsible. But still, it's not a good idea. Also, couldn't you equip more people with that, like responsible people? Dumbledore, for example. I mean, if he had one of those, when him and Harry went to get one of the Horcruxes right in the lake and Dumbledore's arm gets petrified or whatever is happening, if he did that, he would have known that was going to happen, so he could time travel and stop it and try again or something. I don't remember exactly how the time travel in Harry Potter works, but it could be done, I think. But yeah, still stupid. Time travel is always stupid. It can be fun though. I like it in other things, but it's like, it's always a bit weird. Can't take it too seriously, and that's mostly, I think, because we don't know how it would work because it's not been done. We don't know what would happen. But yeah, I think that's all my current grievances with Harry Potter in general. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks, bye!